Welcome to another edition of Ask Pastor Keith. Pastor Keith, we have a very interesting question today. Someone is having difficulty understanding God's providential determination and was wondering if you could explain that concept using the example of finding a spouse.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's actually difficult to explain it all together like that. But first of all, it's about God's predestination. And people call it providential determination. But it is not like the idea is God has already determined everything so that there's nothing we can do about. And I think there's two concepts here. The end is determined, therefore, whatever we do, we'll get there. But that's not the idea. God has also ordained the way to get there. So we need to get involved in there. And our effort and prayer has to be there. So with that said, the idea of finding the right spouse is, because God has determined somebody and, I have to find that person. I think it's not a good way of going about it because we always miss what God meant for us, in every other aspect of our life, and what makes that person to be sure that he will find the right person in that way. I think there's a pool of people that are candidates they'll make a good, mate, spouse for that person, and from it, with dating and other things that we find out about that person, and we, not only fall in love, and we are convinced that this person will be a good spouse. So we go from there because this backworking of whether God has determined this or do our free will works in there and all that, those kind of questions really do not help in making choices and especially important things like finding a spouse. Does God know who will choose? Yes, He does. But that does not mean our path to that decision is that easy or it will come naturally. So our prayer is definitely and our effort, finding that person through dating and what else, and that is going to lead us to the person that God has chosen for us, rather than you just don't do anything and all of a sudden, the person will appear. The way of getting there is that we have to tangle with God, so to speak. It's not something that we are in conveyor belt. It just happens naturally. There are other factors like spiritual warfare. There are like a lot of fleshly decisions, and that can deter us from making the right decision and all that. But of course, from God's side is already determined and it is known. From our side, we do not know that. So this piece of theology is not really practical for us. Yeah, there's a different layers of theology, and theology that is most fantastic is theology like Christology and the Trinity. This is not found in nature. This is inconceivable for Asians to come to this three-in-one concept. And God has revealed that through the scripture they understand. But trying to understand the inner workings of God and how things come about, even though languages are there, but they are not fully explained. So you can come from this end or the other end, it still makes sense. And I explained before free will and predestination, how they work together. And trying to understand this to find a spouse will be a very difficult road, to say the least. Okay.
I understand. Well, thank you very much. Join us again for our next edition of Ask Pastor Keith.